Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Made You Book. My name's Gretchen and today I'm going to be doing a review of Northwoods by Daniel Mason. So this book was a book that I was supposed to finish last year and I just kept putting it off, and I decided that it was gonna have to be one of my first reads of this year because I just wanted to get to it so badly but couldn't. And I am so glad that I prioritized this book because this is actually my first 5-star read of the year. So I'm only a handful of books in and I already have a 5-star read, and I am so happy that this book met the hype for me. I've read a lot of reviews, I've seen a lot of videos of people including this in their best of lists from last year, and I was kind of worried about picking it up because sometimes when books are hyped and you hear so many things about them, I inherently always end up being a little disappointed in them. And this time I was pleasantly surprised that not only did it live up to the hype, but it exceeded all my expectations. So I am highly recommending this book to my audience because I loved it. So this book follows not characters, but a house and a plot of land. So basically the book starts in, I think, the mid to late 1700s. One thing that this book is bad at is letting you know precisely what time we're in. I know it follows up to the present day, but we really don't get any inkling of what year we're actually in. Like, we get little clues and we get little hints, but nothing as far as telling you a specific date. So that being said, I believe the book starts in the late 1700s and it goes to modern day. And the book follows not necessarily characters, but it follows a plot of land and a house in Western Massachusetts. And the book, through its characters, its human characters, we learn about the time in history, we learn about the land and how the house came to be, and we learn little bits and pieces, and we carry them from chapter to chapter as we learn about the inhabitants of that house. And this could very easily have been a book of interconnected short stories, but I think that it works well in the novel form because the way that Daniel Mason interwove the stories together, it was done so masterfully and so seamlessly that even though we were completely changing topic, we were completely changing characters, the ghosts and the remnants of the previous chapter and inhabitants of the house carried over. And I absolutely loved that. It was very spectral in that sense. So we did have magical realism. We also had speculative fiction where you do have things happening that are otherworldly, and you do have to suspend your belief sometimes with some of these stories and plot lines. But to me, I don't think that they were garish or over the top. I think that they were just the right amount of whimsy and otherworldliness that it made this book super special. There were different themes and tones and emotions that you felt with each different chapter. There were chapters that would make you think of anger and revenge. There were chapters that would make you think of love and family, and ones that made you think of comedy, and there were chapters that had me laughing out loud because of the ridiculousness of them and how gullible and funny people can be. And I loved that. Reading a book like this made me feel like there is literally a chapter for every single reader out there. You may not mesh or gel with all of them, but I think there were so many different elements in this book that the majority of readers could find something to appreciate in at least one of the chapters. I have never read anything by Daniel Mason before, so I don't know if this is a recurring theme in his writing, if this is something that he does in all of his books, but after reading this, I definitely have to look at his backlist and read some of them because I was so impressed. I was also impressed with the writing in general. There were moments where I was listening to the audio and reading the physical, and there were moments where I literally just got lost in the writing. It was so beautiful. Mason has such a talent for writing about nature, and I really loved the way that it was depicted. It was a magical book for me, and I know that there are definitely going to be some readers that didn't vibe with it, and I can understand that, but this book took me over and I was enchanted by it, and I honestly did not want it to end. I wanted it to continue to go on, and I was forced by reading this book to think about legacy and what that really means. This book had me thinking about things that I've never really contemplated before. Like I have in passing, I've considered them, but one of the main themes that I took away from this is, what does legacy and ownership really mean? Like, we exist in this world now, we have belongings, we take ownership of things, but that is fleeting. When we're dead and we're gone, that no longer, those things that belong to us are no longer ours, and someone else takes ownership of them. And I think about houses specifically, because that is what the book focuses on, houses and land, where there are things that when we are alive that we cherish and we take care of and we love and we make our own. But when we're no longer here, someone else is going to come in, and the thing that once was ours is theirs, and it's for them to do whatever they want with. And those might not be things that we agree with or that we like. And I love that this book conjured up those thoughts for me. There's like I said, a spectral part of this book where we do have some ghosts, and when we talk about that ownership moving from generation to generation, and not just staying within a family but switching families, and complete strangers taking over, if they're doing things that don't sit well with you, are you going to haunt them? Are they going to be haunted by the house's past or the land's past? And I just thought that it was really, really interesting. And not only that, but as we progress, because this book started in the 1700s and we eventually get to present day, it made me think about legacy and where are we going to be 25, 50, 75 years from now? Are we going to be remembered when we're dead and gone? What remnants of us are going to remain? Will we be completely fizzled out and faded from everyone's memory, or are there going to be things about what we left behind that help carry our spirits on? And I absolutely loved this book for that, and I cannot say enough good things about it. I know I've heard a lot of negativity about this book too, and I will always take someone's negative opinion of a book that I love and try to understand it. And I do understand where they're coming from. I've heard the book being referred to as fanciful and not really like plot driven, and that's okay. It is perfectly acceptable to have those opinions. But for me, if you are the type of reader that loves to be immersed in history and carrying on of legacy into the future, I think that this is definitely going to be a book that you will appreciate. I love history. I've always been drawn to the past and how we got to where we are today. And I love things that are old antiques and books, and I love nature, and to think about where all of those things started and to think of all that they have been through to get to the point where I am able to enjoy them is just very fascinating to me. And this book, even though it is modern, I felt a lot of nostalgia in it, and I really appreciated the book for everything that it was. Like I said, this is my first 5 out of 5 stars of the year. I'm really going to look for more of Daniel Mason's work. I hope that it lives up to this book for me in my mind. I honestly think that it will be very hard to beat as far as other books that I read this year to not make it in my year of best list. Although it is January and it is very early, but I fully expect to be singing this book's praises for a very long time. And I'll end with saying that I think yes, it was Greg from Supposedly Fun. I will link his channel below. He said that he thinks that this book is going to be a major contender for the Pulitzer Prize this year, and I could not agree more. This book, to me, epitomizes what I know the Pulitzer Prize to be. And Greg, if you follow his channel, he is very well versed in the Pulitzer Prize. He does a lot of deep dives into the Pulitzer Prize winners, and I think he has a lifelong reading goal of reading all of the Pulitzer Prize backlist. So he knows his stuff when it comes to the Pulitzer, and I think that he was definitely onto something when he talks about how it likely will be a contender for the Pulitzer. So if those types of books are something that you're interested in, I would also suggest that you give this a shot. So I'm curious, if you've read Northwoods, what were your opinions on it? I'm really curious for those of you that maybe have read it and didn't care for it, what specifically about the book you did not like. I'm always curious to see what the other side of the coin has to say. So yeah, so I'm off to a great reading start for 2024. There are many other books that I have read so far this year that I will either do some individual reviews for or include them in a monthly wrap up. But until we read again, bye.